everyone, it is time to do the second picture in our grid of 9 Italian pictures. I think we're in Italy in Rita Berman's Europa book. So let's come in a little closer to move my book underneath my pencil tin. We're not doing the pasta one, by the way. We are going to be doing this veggie one. Let's get it in the middle. There we go. Now, I am not sure what all of these are. I'm thinking rosemary, chili, shallot, basil, garlic, tomatoes, and I don't know what that is. I'm going to start by colouring the tomatoes, I think. Now, tomatoes can often be slightly orangey red, so I'm going to use the red ochre. I'm using the Castle Arts Soft Touch again, and hopefully if I do those red, and if I decide to do the chili red, I can use a slightly different shade of orange. Red, and it won't, a non-orangey red. I'm talking nonsense. And then it will stand out a little more. So I'm just putting down a light layer here. I just remembered, now I'm colouring this, that I was going to do some shadowing on the last picture with the olives where they were overlapping to do a little bit of shadow, and I never did. Oh well. I was happy with how it turned out anyway, so I'm not going to fiddle with it now. Right, so that's a light layer, and my pencil's really blunt, so I'm going to give it a sharpen, and then I'm just using my Staedtler, sorry it's really blurred, there we go, Norris Club sharpener. You can see I use it a lot. I find it, as long as the lead is sharp, no, as long as the blade is sharp, what am I talking about? It works pretty well. Now what I'm trying to do here is to put in some darker areas, so I'm going around here just darkening certain bits on the edge, and I want to leave a little bit in the centre that's a little bit paler, so that it helps us to see that our tomato is sort of round. I'm going to do that again, so I'm going to layer up a few times. The Castle Arts are good at layering. They will brighten and become more intense as you add layers, and this paper can take layers, so it can work quite well. I don't want lots of white paper showing through, but I do need to show that that central area is a little bit lighter than the rest. There we go. So it's quite subtle, but it's there, and we'll continue and do the same on this one. I'm trying to think what this is. So I'm thinking, well, what have we got here? We've got tomatoes and garlic and onion and chili. We've got the sort of basics, basil and rosemary, for a sort of pasta sauce, haven't we? You know, so what is this? Thinking, what would I put in as well? Well, I would probably put in courgette and peppers and maybe aubergine, you know, nice sort of veggies, but I don't think that's any of those. I don't think it's the tomato, and it's too big for an olive, because olives would be lovely. I never put olives in a pasta sauce. It would be delicious. I really should. So I'm trying hard to rack my brains as to what that is. I wonder how other people have coloured it. I haven't got anything with me here to look it up, so that's not going to help me. I'm going to do those tops of tomatoes. I feel they're often very dark, so I'm looking for quite a dark green. I'm thinking the hooker's green might work quite well. It's quite a dark green, but it's not too bluey, and I don't think they're really that blue. I used to grow tomatoes when I lived with my parents, so it wasn't just me. It was a joint effort. Hooker's green. We used to have a greenhouse, which I'm just going to block this in pretty much although the tips might be a bit paler. Let's make this centre bit a bit more intense. Let's get some layers down here and then a little lighter towards the tips. Yeah, it was my dad's dad had a greenhouse, and a while after he passed away, my gran asked my dad if he wanted it because she didn't really use it. So they relocated a greenhouse. Imagine all the glass and everything, had slabs on the ground and all sorts. So anyway, they relocated the greenhouse in the car. I mean, my gran didn't live that far away, in the same town, and brought it to my parents' house, and we used it to grow tomatoes for many years. Now they don't have it anymore. I think a lot of the panes got broken, and you know, they didn't use it very much. They don't have it anymore, but they sometimes still do grow tomatoes, but in the garden rather than in the greenhouse. We used to go and water them daily, sometimes twice a day. We would put the fill up the watering can and put it inside the greenhouse, and then leave it ready for the next water so that we didn't shock the plants, because my dad would used to warn me. I'm going to use a walnut brown to just do a little bit of shadowing on my tomato, just a little bit. Yeah, my dad used to warn me that if I put freezing cold water straight onto them, they would get a bit of a shock. So we would let the water warm up, because greenhouse got quite warm, particularly towards the evening. So I'm just looking at these dots and using them as a bit of a reference, but I'm going to go around the edge of each of these leaves. I used to call these spiders. Sorry for anyone who's scared, but even when I was very little, we used to throw them at each other, as you do, and shout spider. But I can't do that now in my house, because my husband and son are genuinely terrified, so that wouldn't be nice. Whereas we just used to jump and it was fine, but no, it's wouldn't be nice. So here where they overlap, we put a bit of shadow in there as well. You can put as much or as little as you wish. Now garlic is a little bit difficult to colour, but I feel that often the skin has a little bit of a pinky purple tinge to it. And I'm just having a look at my colours, and I think the spice red is probably the right colour. However, this is a very intense colour and garlic is often quite pale pink. So we're going to use it very sparingly. I'm just going to sort of put a little bit on like this at the bottom, and just try to use it partly to define the different sections, because if you think this is the whole bulb, the cloves are the ones that really have the pink on. The bulb's usually completely white, but we're just pretending that that outside skin has been removed from the clove, and we're using the we can see these bits and the segments are still together. And I'm going to use a Naples yellow light just to do the rest. I'm going to go over the top of this colour and just put some creamy colour. Now we are going to do a background colour, so this will still show up, it won't look white, but I feel like it probably isn't white, so I'm just putting a little bit of cream on there, but it's quite pale. I don't even know if you can see it. Now the rooty bits, I'm trying to remember, I think there is sort of beige. I don't think we have that colour at all or anything near it. I'm just going to use the raw umber and just use it quite lightly. It's in my mind it's the nearest match. You may not agree, you might find something else that you feel will work better, but I think it's okay. There we go. Now next we have a shallot. Now often they're covered with a light brown papery casing, And I'm going to use my raw umber actually for that as well. It's the only brown we have that's light without being too orangey. I'm going to use it really lightly though, because I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. So I'm just going to put down a light layer. I think I can get away with a little bit more, not too much. And if you make it a little bit darker on your edges, it will help it to look a little more rounded. Yeah, it's not quite the right colour, but I don't think it matters too much. There we go. Now I did say I was going to do these leaves as basil, and I think I still will. And basil, I'm just looking at my colours. I am thinking permanent green might just work. If I can find it. There it is. It's actually fairly sharp. Now I'm going to make the tips a little darker and line towards the centre in the same way we did with our olive leaves. I don't think basil is that shiny, but we can just give it a little impression of shine, and I think it just makes it look a little more interesting than just plain colouring. But you can plain colour if that's what you feel more comfortable with. It doesn't matter. I haven't got much energy today. It's quite funny. My son, both my boys are home today. They're always home on a Wednesday. And one of them's like, I just can't be motivated to work today, he's saying. And I was like, yeah, I know what you mean. I made one video, and then I was a bit like, meh. So we had some crisps. Now I'm just trying to choose the colour for our chili. Now we have let me show you actually, it might be easier to talk you through my process. So here are the reds. We have the red ochre, we use that for the tomatoes. We have this is very pink, the Venetian red. We have the scarlet red, which is an option, and the vermilion, which is quite dark, but these are quite pinky. But when we go up to the cadmium and the alizarin crimson, they're both very pink. So I think I'm going to start with the scarlet and maybe add in some vermilion if necessary. I think that's what I'm going to try. There's the scarlet red. I want it to look quite different to these. I mean, if the tomatoes are looking a little bit too red and not pinky enough, and not orangey enough, I could always go over them with a bit of a layer of orange if I think that's necessary. Of course, you could always do your chili green. I don't like green chilies. I haven't really tried them. I don't eat chili anymore. It doesn't suit me, nor does garlic or onion, but still. Sorry, this is the same colour, I just sharpened it. I think I always have this feeling that green chilies might not be so nice as red, because I don't like green peppers. I like red ones. So it's probably just a bit of silliness. It's probably really, because like pinos, I can't say it properly, they're quite nice and they're green. So I don't know. And Scotch bonnets are red, and I wouldn't go near them. I don't know what type of chilli this is. Is it bird's eye? Is that the right word? I know we have a company called Bird's Eye who make frozen goods, but I'm sure there's something type of chili. Maybe I'm just talking rubbish. Now chilies are quite shiny on their skin, so I'm trying to show that by gently adding layers to the edge and doing a bit less in the centre, so that we can make it look like there's a bit of shine going on there. I think it's working, but you need to, just keep gently building up the layers. I've missed a bit there. I think that'll do. Okay, now we can do the rosemary. Now rosemary's really dark. looking, we've got the viridian is very dark, but we also have a terre verde deep, but it's almost a bit too blue. Or is it, would it work? I know, I'm going to do a mix. Let's have a mixture of colours. So I'm going to use the terre verde deep first as an initial layer, so not too hard. I haven't done the chili stalk, have I? I was too anxious to get on with this. And I feel this is a little bit too blue, but it's a nice depth. So I'm going to use this in an even layer through, and not too hard. And then I'm going to put another colour on top. I'm not sure what colour the top of a chili is. The green there. I mean, I know it's green, but I mean, what shade of green? I don't know. I have a think. I think it's a bit paler than a tomato, and certainly a lot paler than this rosemary. So that's that, and I'm going to grab the viridian. Where's the viridian? Oh, it's up here. And do some of that on top. But I'm going to take a little bit more notice of the way the plant is formed. So my desk is creaking. I'm going to make it a little bit darker along the bottom of this stem. And then back along the top. And then fade it a little bit towards the tip of each of these leaves, I guess they are. They're almost needles, like pine needles, but not quite that hard, are they? Luckily, or else it wouldn't be very nice to eat. Though some dishes I put, when I put rosemary in a stew, dried rosemary, it tends to float on the top of the liquid and get stuck in my teeth. But if I put it into a sort of bake and just mix it in with everything, then it doesn't do that, and it's delicious. There we go. Now the top of our chili. See, I don't want it as light as the basil, so I'm having a little look. I'm going to go for the Prussian green, actually. Where's that? Is that it there? No. Oh, there it is. Needs a sharpen. So yeah, Prussian green. It looks like a potato. It can't be. I'm just going to put a little layer over, and then I'm going to make it darker on the edges in the same way we did with the actual chili, because there might be a little bit of a lighter area in the centre of this as well, just in the same way. See, I would happily put lemon with that dish. Olives. Sorry, it's not very entertaining, me thinking, is it? Shall we turn it into another onion? Bear with me. I'm going to go away and come back. Right, I am back. I had a drink and had a look at some other people's colouring pages of these to see what it had been coloured as. A couple of people coloured it as a potato, which was my sort of initial thought, but a lot of people coloured it as another tomato, and I'm thinking that maybe this sort of dent bit is where the green bit has been removed. This is a sort of flower, isn't it? So that's what we're going to do. I think it looks more like a tomato, or makes a little bit more sense. So was it the hookers that I used for that? Don't know. I'm going to use the hookers green anyway in here. So this is like our sort of green bit that's left behind after you remove this. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of permanent green on top, because I think it needs to be just a little bit paler than that. There we go. And now let's go for our red ochre and continue. So what I did before, really, a light layer first. Then darker around the edge. Yeah, I just finished my coffee as well. My son was telling me something about someone called Nicki Minaj, who I've only vaguely heard of, saying she apparently went on Instagram Live and just talked for 3 days non-stop. Wow. I know I can talk, but that's a long time. But apparently there are various theories about what happened, that she was either on drugs or went a bit insane, for want of a better word, or has bipolar or something. But anyway, it was a bit of a strange story to randomly hear. It's the wrong shape for a tomato. I still think maybe it is a potato. Now I'm going to grab this walnut brown to do a bit of shadow. So here, where it's overlapping and around the stem here, a little bit under here. Now that looks like it's sticking up, and it should look like it's dipped in, so I've done that wrong, but never mind. I'm going back to my red ochre just to do a little more fiddling on it. Just it's a little bit too pale in the middle for my liking, so but I still want that contrast of colour, so I need to put another layer of red everywhere. Really, there we go, that's better. Now the background, what are we going to do colour wise? I thought a sort of pale yellowy green might be quite nice. We've got a leaf green light, which is very pale, but will it camouflage those basil leaves a bit too much? Will the cadmium green pale be better? I think it will. I'm going to use the cadmium green pale because if I use the cadmium green, no, because it's a more olivey tone, so it won't look the same as these. And I'm going to put a layer of this all over. I'm going to do the background in a slightly different way to the one I did before, where I put the dark in first. This one I'm going to put the light in first. I think I did the dark first. No, I'm doubting myself. It doesn't matter. Yesterday I did say that if I had any charts in my Ko-fi shop of comparing Castle Arts to other brands, in case you don't have the castles, I would put a link in the description. And I did check just now when I was having my coffee, and I do have a couple of charts. I have one, Castle Arts and Polychromos, where I sort of put both sets of swatched both sets of pencils and sort of next to each other, so you can see, and some of them I sort of matched and some of them I haven't, because some of them don't match at all. Like in this set there's quite a selection of peachy, you know, coral, tangerine, that sort of thing. There's nothing like that in the polys, for example. So I've done the nearest matches, so there's that one. And I also matched my 72 Arteza and my 72 Castle. So it's a little bit, I've only got 72 Arteza, this is the expert set, and when I only had 72 Castles before I was given this set by Castle Art, so before I had those, I just had the 72, which is a lovely set actually, and so I sort of compared those two in a video. Okay, so there's a vague background, but I want to darken those corners just like we did on the other one. So I'm going to use the cadmium, I'm going to use the oxide of chrome. It's quite a bit darker and I think it might give us more of a contrast like we did over here. So I'm going to use this fairly gently though in the corners, just where we've got this dotting, so that we can just follow Rita's guide really. And then once I get to the end of that dotty area, I can just going to fade it a bit because I want it to sort of all blend together like that. This is what I did last time, isn't it? I'm not sure now. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so those two comparison sheets. So if you've got only the polychromos, then you can compare, or if you've got the arteses. I haven't done any more, so I don't know if there's anything else that might be required to help you with this page. I'm always up for making some new swatch charts. Could do one with Prismacolor. Don't know how many of you have Prisma though, because I know I don't use a lot of Prisma. I'm going back to the cadmium green palette. I'm going to go over the top of this and it will bring it out. You'll see it now much darker. And then I can sort of fade it in to this. Yeah, I don't, because as I say, I don't know how many of you have the Prismas, because I know there's a lot of other people that do Prismacolor tutorials that you might be more likely to follow than me. So I don't know. There we go. I also actually have a sheet about the castles which shows you which particular pencils are included in each of their sets, because they've got quite a big variety of soft touch sets. There's the 120 and the 72 set, but then there's also a selection of different 24 sets, each with a different selection of colours in it. So but just to note that the pastel tint set is completely different. There are none of those in this set. There are some colours that are a little bit similar, but not really that close. So that's the sort of standalone set, as is the metallics. There are no metallics in the 120 set. They do that as a separate set altogether. There we go. I'm going to stop there and let it be a bit lighter in the middle. I think if I keep fiddling, you'll not see the contrast. Let me just think, is there anything else I want to do? No, I think I'm happy with that. So I think I am going to end it there. So thank you very much for watching. Yeah, hope you have a really super day and happy colouring.